done that.
You can record that then too. Okay,
Yeah.
a red dot just popped up, so it's recording now. So that's cool.
Yeah. So
What's
Hani,
up? What's up, Blabbers?
Yeah. What's up, Nikki? And Kevin. Why don't one of you guys jump on in the open seat?
Jump in the hot seat.
So well, with the recording, Hani Mora is developing a simple blab press or whatever he's calling it, where it'll automatically upload your recording straight to YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you won't have to.
So how does it work? How does it work with recording now then?
You know, this is the first one I've ever hosted, so I'm not quite sure actually.
Okay.
How are we doing, Kevin?
Hey,
Hi.
Kevin.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
It's I'm in Scotland, so you might have to tune into my accent a little bit.
Oh, awesome.
That's awesome, man.
It's like a Shrek accent.
Are you a podcaster?
Yes, just as a hobby.
Oh, sweet.
Awesome.
Well, it looks like you have. What's that device that's behind you? It looks like a mixer or.
Yeah, there's a couple of DBX boxes behind me. Obviously not needed for Blab, but I was doing a podcast earlier, so I was somebody asked me to jump onto a Blab, and I just hooked up. I don't usually use my PC at all for podcasting. So,
okay.
I'm coming through an XLR microphone to an audio strip, a preamp, and then out to the mixer and back to the PC. So I wasn't sure my audio would be working. That's why I was asking. So.
Oh, how long have you been podcasting?
I think I started a couple of years ago, but I was on hiatus for about 10 months there, but I'm back at it in the last 5 or 6 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Cool.
And what's it about?
I spend a lot of time travelling around Scotland, so it's about my interest or passion for Scotland. So
Oh, beautiful.
It's almost like a diary of my travels. So it's a little bit, some people like it from a tourist point of view, or if they're intending to visit Scotland. Other people like it, I think you help them fall asleep.
Hey, some people probably say that about my podcast.
So you podcast as well, both of you? Or?
Yes, sir.
What do you podcast about?
Anthony, go ahead.
I host a show called Me, Myself, and I Radio, and
Right.
it's available at memyselfandiradio.com. And basically, it's kind of, I can kind of understand where you're coming from, because mine's an audio journal of sorts as well.
Right.
And I discuss self-discovery and overcoming some obstacles, including depression and things like that, and how I learned to apply those to my life in a positive way. And I like to share my message on my podcast.
And do you go out on a weekly basis or fortnightly?
Bi-weekly.
Right.
On Thursdays, bi-weekly. Mm-hmm.
Well, I've just followed you both, so I'll look you up and have a listen.
Oh, cool. That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I run 5 different podcasts, soon to be 6.
Yeah. So good luck trying to keep up with Joe.
Yeah, man.
He's like Energizer Bunny.
Well, the flagship is I interview people who live their dreams.
All right.
So I'm up to episode 199, and that's in just under a year and a half. Because for a while there, I was doing it for 5 days a week, which was grueling. Wasn't doing much else other than editing all the time, editing or recording all the time. So it's been fun. And then I have Living the Dream podcast where we interview Disney legends.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's these
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, like Mickey Mouse. Yeah, like Mickey Mouse. There's the Squadcast where I teach kids how to podcast. And they come up with their own topics and everything, and I basically just produce the show.
That sounds really good.
I'm sorry?
That sounds really good.
Yeah, it's fun. And then there's this Let's Talk, which it's usually every 2 weeks. We were doing it on Google Hangout, and this is the first time doing it on Blab, which is so far so good. Definitely nice to get some people in that wouldn't necessarily be there otherwise, because the Google Hangout, it's like hit or miss. and there's not a lot of room for outsiders to find out about it and come in.
Yeah, it's cool. When Kevin said, you know, I just went and followed you guys. I clicked on his, because this is my first time using Blab. So I click on his name, and then it brings up his Twitter, and I can follow him directly from there, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
So
yeah,
sweet. I like that. That's a cool feature, because I know when I'm doing other engaging with people, otherwise I have to write down everything. So that's kind of convenient. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like Blab is more in tune with what's more current than Google Hangout, because Google Hangout is kind of in its own little world. And
there's a bit of a barrier to entry for Google Hangouts, isn't there? A technical obstacle to overcome for quite a few people.
It is.
Okay, for likes of,
you got to have a plugin that they have to install, and that's a hoop.
Mine was giving me the first probably week that I was trying to install mine on my PC. It was giving me problems. I couldn't get past like the firewall. It just it wouldn't load it into my computer. So eventually I got it working, but yeah, it did take a little time.
Yeah, so Blab's very easy. I think that sort of linkage with Twitter is really, really good. Works very well.
Yeah,
for publicizing and bringing people in and following, and it's very easy to contribute, isn't it? Really.
See, we got Nikki from LA. Looks like she's into Muay Thai. I can dig that, Nikki. I'm a former MMA fighter.
Oh, very, very cool. Yeah, Nikki, you want to jump in? You're more than welcome to.
So what time is it in Scotland right now?
It's tomorrow. It's
okay, so you're like in the future. So
like
that's kind of
4 a.m.
I can tell you your lottery results in the stock market. It's about 2:30 in the morning.
Wow.
So you usually just stay up this late, or just?
I'm a man of leisure, really. You're talking about living the dream. I jumped off the hamster wheel about 6 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I travel full time almost around Scotland in a motorhome. And this is my bricks and mortar. This is my garage. Come back here to pay the bills and meet a few people, and then I head off again. But October from this week onwards is really difficult in Scotland because we have so much darkness. The clocks change by an hour and it gets darker earlier, and we end up with something like 17 hours of darkness, so
that's crazy.
It's not really much fun parked up I call it my van, but parked up in my van in a lay-by at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the dark with a gas fire burning in a van.
Yeah,
knowing it wouldn't be daylight till 7 or 8 in the morning, and the rain's hammering on the roof, and you step outside and you think somebody's going to eat you in the dark.
Yeah, that must be strange. It must throw your body off having darkness like that in Scotland and other parts of the world.
That's why I'm up now, because if you let your body adjust to the daylight, you would probably almost hibernate in the winter. And
right.
I like the whole Mediterranean thing of staying up late and getting up early and having a little siesta in the afternoon.
Yeah, I don't like I like the sound of hibernating. I could go for some hibernating right now as opposed to going to work. That would be nice.
Yeah.
What time do you have to work till, Anthony?
8 a.m. So I'm going into work at about 11:30 p.m. here, Eastern Standard Time, and then I'll be working through the night until 8 a.m. So,
oh wow,
we're doing some remodeling at work. So, somebody's got to be there to look over the store. So,
what type of work are you involved in?
I work in the grocery business.
Right.
I'm at a grocery retailer in South Florida. So,
so Kevin, how do you go about to bring it back to podcasting and blogging and all that? How do you go about advertising your show?
I think I've treated it very much as a hobby from the outset. So I was on Facebook originally, as a lot of us were or still are, and I was doing a lot of photography on my travels, and you know, when people are on Facebook, I think they all want to contribute, but they're not by nature creators. A lot of them are, they don't have the confidence, so they reshare all these videos and all these little sayings and things. So I was putting in all my photographs and things I was doing, and I wasn't getting much traction, and I wasn't really looking for it. But then I thought about YouTube, and I started making videos from my photographs. And again, I didn't really get much interest or feedback. And then I thought, well, what about podcasting? You know, and that touched a nerve really. As soon as I started podcasting, I got feedback, and I've now made all sorts of friends through my podcasting. So I set up, to answer your question, Joe, I set up a Facebook group, and that helped a lot in terms of giving. It's almost like I'd like to bring everybody to my website. I started off thinking about a community and a forum. Yep. You almost have to go to Facebook. That's where everybody is spending their time. So I set up a Facebook group, which has been the main focus. And the reason this PP Insiders is a new Twitter handle, it's not my main handle. I've got a whole community site that I've got on hold. So I was going to bring people in for some, I say premium content, but to do a lot more audio with people on a small monthly sort of basis, you know, fee, sort of Netflix type model. Not really? With the quality of blockbusters that get Netflix right enough. But I've relied on Facebook and Twitter, I think, so far, and some traffic from YouTube, and I haven't really joined them all up properly. Branding-wise.
That's cool.
So you found most success by having a private Facebook group for the podcast, and then utilizing that to connect with people.
Yeah, I think my Facebook group's been public all along, but I talk about the Facebook group, and people meet there to share content. So you end up with a community of interest where people are generating content. So an example would be somebody contacted me recently about geocaching. I don't know if you've come across geocaching as a hobby. Mm-hmm. And I'm almost looking for new topics or new angles on travelling around and things to do. And I'd looked at geocaching about 6 years ago. So I thought there's an ideal thing to do for an episode. And it's something I mentioned to my daughter who's 13 and got her for this week because it's school holidays. And it sparked an interest in her because I took her geocaching when she was about, well, whatever age she was, 7 or 8 at the time. So she's really keen to try it again. So we'll do some audio out in the field, literally, if you like, when we're out and about tomorrow. And that will be probably the bulk of the episode. I'll do my shout-outs to people. I'll mention a few other bits and pieces. And I use, the digital audio recorders. I use them out and about. Try and pick up as much external outside sounds as I can. So
that's awesome. What's your website? I would love to. That sounds really interesting. And
on my bio there, if you say you follow me, I don't want to be presumptuous, but if you go into up to the top of the blab there and hover over my name, you'll get the
Bonnie Tours.
It's called Bonnie Tours, which I've got a Triumph Bonneville motorcycle. That was another thing I did. I went round Scotland on my motorcycle a few times.
Oh wow, man!
Yeah, that's a nice serendipity theme there. By the way,
well, I was actually talking to Joey from Appendipindy just the other day because I was recommending his themes on a blab, and then he came on a blab and I was in the audience and he said, "Get in touch with me. I want to update your theme as a thank you." So
wow,
the new podcaster's theme is actually got some added functionality to it. That's the original one from 18 months ago, I think.
You know what? Joey's a good guy, man. I just had him up here for I held my first conference, and he was one of the sponsors, and he flew up here from Florida to just be a part of it. And yeah, man,
who is this?
Joey Kissimmee.
He's really nice, really good guy.
He lives by me.
He's solid. He's really a solid guy. When I was down Florida a couple months back, and we hung out with him for like half a day. Went and got lunch and stuff like that.
Well, when that theme first came out, Joe, I had a couple of problems getting my podcast episodes to come across properly in the player, and he got in touch and very quickly reached out to me, and I gave him my access details and he went into my WordPress site and fixed it for me.
Oh wow!
Just as he was really, really good. So
Did you find that? And I know that I've talked with other people that have found this, but did you find an increase in your downloads once you switched over to Appendipity?
I saw a dramatic increase, and I'm not now convinced it was necessarily the theme or just the theme. I changed my logo and things, and my downloads went, I say, through the roof, but they really dramatically increased for a few months, and then I sort of dropped off the podcast, and I'm still trying to recover it back to those levels. But I can't be sure it was the theme, but it must have helped, because the benefit of the theme was the one-click play.
Yep.
When you arrive on the website, you're immediately presented with the most recent episode at the top and a big player, and the subscribe buttons to iTunes and Stitcher Radio. And then you have your previous episodes cascading down. You can have as many on the front page as you want. You obviously want your page being 3 miles long, but I can't remember how many I've got on the front page. But it's really the philosophy being you want to give people one-click access to the content. And it's not one's better than the other, but if you like that idea, it saves the idea of having to navigate maybe a couple of steps to get to an episode before you find a player and then maybe reverse out that to get to another episode. So that was the notion behind it.
Very cool. Yeah, man, I want to check out your photography and stuff. That sounds really unique. And
it's only at a hobby level. I mean, it's not anything to do. I'm not professionally trained in any of these things. It's just a way to, I suppose, capture some of the things I do and then share it with people. So
yeah, absolutely. That definitely is something worth consuming. I'm going to check out your website later on. That sounds cool, man.
Yeah, you should. It's the Marin theme, which is awesome. And yeah, I really think that having that giant play button definitely helps right out of the gate. Because of that, like, and like I said, I've talked with other people, and they're like, yeah, as soon as we switched over to Joey's Appendipity, our downloads went really, like, we saw a big increase, which is great. It's amazing that people, like, if you don't use something like that with the giant, like, punching you in the face with the play button, people won't go out of their way to consume any kind of content.
Yeah, it's tough. I think that's like one of the big downfalls in podcasting. It's like if you don't have the iTunes app, or if you don't have Stitcher or something, it can be tedious for just a random listener, like a non-podcast listener, to consume your stuff if you don't have one of those players or a widget of some sort. Which is why I put them on my own website, as opposed to saying, oh, hey, check me out on iTunes, check me out on Stitcher, especially with friends and family. They may not have access to those things, especially like my mother. She's, technically challenged. So all I do is I send them right to the website, and I have like my little widget, and that works wonders. So I could see the benefit in using that Appendipity for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at your site now, Anthony. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I can see your player in the top right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's something that, like, I've been meaning to get around to doing. I used to have it on my front page, but it was at the bottom, the newest episode, because I was using I think it's like Pro Player or something like that from John Dennis. I think that's it, like Pro. I can't seem to find it at the moment, but I'll pull it up in my Evernote.
I mean, the other thing, obviously, is when you're using the Appendipity theme. I mean, if I think of the behaviour of somebody going on, because of that big player and the episode's all there, it's easy to, in the way that people behave on YouTube, just, browsing videos and watching 10 seconds or whatever.
The YouTube black hole.
You can imagine somebody going in and playing the first episode for 3 seconds and think, oh, I'll try that one. Oh, that's a nice picture. I'll press that play button. You could easily double your downloads just because they're so easy to press, if you like.
If that's what you
that's
really
a bad
want.
thing, but it's always the conundrum with podcasting is how long have people actually listened or consumed the content. I know in Stitcher you can get some good metrics, but you don't generally, in terms of your downloads, get any sense of how long they're listening, do you?
Well, in Stitcher you do. In Stitcher, yeah, but outside of Stitcher you do not. Which is a real shame, because with YouTube you can get that information as well if you dig deep enough. and it's tough because you can get all those downs, like you said, like oh that's nice, that looks cool, I'll hit the play button, but does it really mean anything? Unless you're getting any kind of real feedback or real interaction with people, like it just doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm. That's I like what Kevin was talking about earlier with that. He touched on the subject about having interacting with his Facebook community. I think that's huge. And Joe, I know you went to Podcast Movement this year, and was that not the overall theme of the keynote speakers? Is really, getting to know your listeners?
I don't know. I was busy in networking most of the time.
Well, exactly. There you go.
I wasn't. I didn't spend a lot of time in any of any particular talks.
Yeah, they call it the bar, don't they? They do in Scotland anyway.
They call it the pub. Yeah.
No, I know what you mean.
So it's
yeah. So you were living it. You were living what they were talking about.
Yeah, I tried to.
The thing
you were living the dream.
If you get feedback on your YouTube channel or on Facebook, I mean, it's positive and it's good. If you get a voicemail from a listener who says they've been listening to you and for weeks, the sense of engagement or the quality of that relationship is at a completely different magnitude, and there's a sort of sense of responsibility that comes with it as well. But you do feel that you need to put the content out there, and
I agree.
People are just so amazingly generous in what they say to you. I wouldn't pretend I had any talent, if you like, in the sector. That's not why I'm there. I wasn't trained in it. It's not a career. I haven't come through on the basis of some filtering process where I've got a qualification and somebody's been daft enough to employ me. I'm doing it just purely on a hobby basis, and people are coming in and saying that they enjoy listening.
That's cool.
It's I can't think of another platform, or certainly not in Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, are you going to get that level of engagement?
Well, I see. I disagree to a point. I dropped that the Procast Player plugin in the chat, the link. And the reason I disagree is because with Facebook, it's so much easier because people are so many people are involved in it. That it's so much easier to get views and shares and stuff like that. Like so like the other podcast I didn't get to mention earlier that I do, it's called Birth. Me and my wife are having our first baby, and we put a podcast together called Birth where it documents the whole process of going from not having a baby to having our first baby. Anyway, something different that I've been doing is uploading the episodes.
There we go.
I put a picture and then the video, I make a video out of a picture and the audio and upload it straight to Facebook. And week 13, why does it not tell me the views?
Yeah, that's huge. I try to convince my girlfriend for our next kid that we do that, and she's like, "No, it's not happening."
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, put it this way: I don't know why this isn't giving me the view count, but like this episode here reached 700 people. This episode reached 262 people.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's taken off, man. Somebody just the other day posted a picture of the new and noteworthy, and because one of their colleagues or peers was on there, and you were on there. I know I tagged you in the photo.
Yeah.
And he didn't even realize it. And he was like, "Oh my god, that's so cool." I mean, people are consuming. People are definitely consuming.
Joe, what was it? The number you're looking at there? Are you on? You were talking about Facebook, and the number you're pulling there is listens or?
Well, it should show me views. It shows me views of other things. But
have you got a Facebook page as well for your podcast? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, the Facebook page. I'm logged in as the Birth page. I don't understand. Let me see. Oh, maybe the video.
My messy house. Everybody sees my messy house in the background. I have a toddler.
Well, it's 220 views for this. But you know what? Facebook also gives you audience retention, which our audience retention I mean, I don't know. I guess that's not too bad. Like after the first 2 minutes is about 2% all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
So
touche, Jenna.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to a messy house at all.
Just keep the door closed to your studio. That's all I have to say.
The door. What door? There is no door. Look, there's no door there.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to put a door there. Yeah, you're gonna need to call the construction company. You need to put a door up.
We were talking about doing pocket doors there, but
it's got to be something. A barn door, swinging door, French door.
Yeah,
call it whatever you want.
An electric fence is a bit extreme, but yeah, certainly a door might be.
That's great.
Yeah, I guess at least a gate. But anyway, yeah, I think that the whole Facebook thing. I mean, that 2%. I don't know what's 2% out of 220 views.
5.
Oh wow, that's pretty bad. Yeah.
No, I think I accept what you're saying. There is you can pick up quite a bit of warmth in Facebook if you share content that's personal or important. You will get good response from people.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that to be in somebody's ears for, whatever the episode length is, half an hour at a time, does build up quite a relationship. And when you meet a listener or speak to them face to face, it's quite an amazing. I'm sure you've done a lot more than I have, Joe, but it's quite an amazing thing to meet a listener. The level of
definitely. Well, like
relationship
Jenna,
that seems to exist.
Jenna's one of those people that's in the chat.
Okay.
And actually, Jenna or Amy, why don't you, one of the two of you, jump in the seat here?
I get confused with the different names. It's Jenna? Yeah, Jenna's asking me.
Oh, Amy left. Okay, Jenna, why don't you jump in?
Oh, Jenna was asking where Kevin lives.
Yeah, is she going or still here?
You say Chicago?
I live in.
No, is she gone now?
I'm in Stirling, which is a city, if you know Scotland. It's in the central part of Scotland, but I spend most of my time out and about travelling. So I use my accommodation here. I call it bricks and mortar. I just use it as a garage most of the time to come back and push the bills from behind the door and sort things out. So.
One thing.
Pajamas.
One thing. Oh, I'm sorry.
Is it Jenna saying that she's in her pajamas in bed?
Oh, that's why she said gross no.
Yeah, she won't.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It's just very sensible.
Yeah. What's a shame is that with Facebook, like they give you the statistics of how long people watch and stuff. Like I have this video for our announcement. We did a video with I don't know if you've ever heard of Who's the Boss, Kevin? The TV show.
No.
It's from like the early 90s with Tony Danza.
Yeah, the Tony Danza. Yeah, he probably doesn't know because he's from Scotland.
Tony Danza.
Anyway, we did a video where where we recreated the intro to the TV show, and it's been seen like 9,500 times, right? But with Facebook, it tells you like how long people, like the percentage of people and the drop off and the rate and all over time. Well, the thing is it doesn't tell you what the average is. Like with say MailChimp, right? MailChimp will tell you what the industry average is. What was it like for entertainment is like a 4% or like I think it was like 18% open rate or something like that, or 15% open rate. And then the click-through rate on the videos, or not the videos, on the links is only like less than 2%. But like here, it doesn't actually tell you. So like I can't compare. Like my average duration on a 52-second video is 28 seconds, and it's 53.71%. But I don't know if that's good or bad. Like that sounds pretty good to me.
Yes.
But I don't know, right? Because it doesn't give you that that insight into what the rest of the industry looks like. But it's just another way to get your content out there, right? Because I think like with the whole podcasting thing, like you guys were saying, it's hard for people to necessarily get involved and get involved to listen. let alone get involved to do anything else with, write you an email, God forbid, or join in for like a Google Hangout or a live streaming YouTube video or something like that. So to me,
and there's some podcasts that I listen to, and I've been, I say, a loyal listener. I spend a lot of time listening to them, and the host will often ask for feedback. I say it doesn't cross my mind to deliver, but I rarely would actually contact them or send them an email, and yet I wait for their podcast every week. So there's a large group of people, a large percentage, even if you've got a small audience, who are potentially very attentive or very supportive, but aren't going to take that step of getting in touch. And
Yeah, I try to make a point of it to do that too. I know I did that this week. I emailed Joe about some things and a couple of other shows that I listen to and authors and things, and just basically saying, hey, there's people out here listening and consuming, and we appreciate what you're doing. So I try to make it a point whenever I can to whenever I get a moment to myself to reach out to whomever that is, and to let them know.
It does if you're podcasting when you do that, Anthony. Such a difference to get some feedback. It just makes it all worthwhile if you're putting a lot of time and effort into something to share, and then somebody acknowledges it. You need to keep going at times.
Yeah, I agree, and I know there's people that put podcasts out a lot more often than I do, and I appreciate the work that goes into it, and a lot of people don't understand that, and how much time they'd actually invest in it. So when some of these guys are putting out multiple episodes a week, I'm flabbergasted. I don't know how they can, I don't know how you guys do it, man. But I definitely see the love involved and the time it takes to produce these things, and I think if more people understood that, I think there'd be a lot more loyal listeners out there.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say earlier was that I think that it's important to just get the content in front of people, no matter how, because ultimately in theory, and this is kind of true, not true, is to get people on email lists, right? Because it's great to have a Facebook group, but what if Facebook went away tomorrow? Or, everybody decide, Facebook changed their rules. Now they're really the Gestapo, and everybody wants out, and they just leave in droves. So, that's the whole idea, is to get people in an email list anyway. So any way you can get them to connect, you don't have to just necessarily focus in one direction. So having the video, having my videos on YouTube, having them on Facebook, having them on Twitter, having them wherever I can put them, is really important, because it gets, it's just the potential to get it in front of more people. And if it resonates with them, then they're going to take the time to go out of their way.
You have to leverage those social networks and really use them.
And I've dropped the odd episode onto SoundCloud and Spreaker and these other platforms too, just to have a free account. I don't make any effort to be comprehensive there, but just so that if anybody was looking for Scotland or content that I produce by searching for it, they would find at least one episode that might direct them back to the website.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, some of them want you to pay, and Spreaker lets you do some free, and I think SoundCloud lets you do some free.
Yeah, Spreaker, you get up to I want to say 6 hours of recording time free, and then you can upgrade for, it's I don't know, $30 for the year. I think I pay $30 for the year because I use them to host. But you get 45 minutes of recording time, and I don't know, 50 or 100 hours or something of upload storage, which is plenty for me. So it's quite reasonable.
So you're quite happy with the service you get, Anthony, yeah?
Yeah, I am. I started off with the free account, and I actually just hit my allotment of how many hours I was allowed to store. So I upgraded for the small fee. I think it's $4 a month it turned out to be, or something like that. So that was the next tier up.
I think Spreaker, from everything I hear, are really reaching out to podcasting more and more. They seem to be quite keen to embrace the sector. Whereas SoundCloud, I think, are probably having a few problems.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of buzz around SoundCloud and how they want to get more podcasters, but I don't see the. Some people swear by it. Like I upload my stuff to SoundCloud just to have it there, but I mean I don't use the service. I have the app on my phone. I don't use it per se. It's not very user friendly as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion. But I do understand, like you were saying, it's good to use those different avenues to get the content out there. So that's really the only reason I have it.
Me too.
I mean, I know. Some people have pointed out several times that SoundCloud is they were like on their D round of funding or something like that not too long ago, and I know SoundCloud has taken a lot of steps towards culling their people that use like copywritten music. So like in DJ mixes and stuff like that, they got rid of a lot of accounts, and
they pull it. I know I had an issue with them actually because I played a song on one of my podcasts and their bots or whatever they use to pull that information out, they kicked my episode out.
Right. Yeah, and that's that's really tough for people, especially if you have permission, and it could take a while to get that permission back up and running, so that it that it's okay. So I wouldn't personally use them for podcasting. I mean, I know one person that does. David Michael uses it, and
yeah. Yeah, but he also does a lot of music stuff.
He does. Though one of the things that what happened, the reason he's using it for podcasting is because when he got started, I think they sent him like a personal somebody from SoundCloud sent him a personal letter with like stickers or something like that in it, and he was just sold. Like he's like, yeah, I know, but I think it's more about the fact that somebody took the time to like write him a letter about something that was some kind of issue or something that he was having. So I don't know. It really resonated with him, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm sold. I'm not going anywhere else for my hosting." Now, with that said, I mean, I'm wearing a Blueberry shirt, but I actually host all my podcasts from my own website, so I don't use a host.
Right.
And do you find that works okay? Yeah.
It's worked all right for a year and a half. I've had months, where I've had 2,000 downloads. I've had months with 10,000 downloads. So I haven't run into a problem yet. I use DreamHost. Now, with that said, at some point, if the downloads were to start to become a problem, slowing my site down or whatever, or growing to a number that was like, hey, maybe I should think about getting a separate host in case my site goes down. Then at least the podcast is still up. The feed is still good. I would probably look at starting with Blueberry and then go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I host with Blueberry, but I also, in the last year or so, just again almost on a hobby basis, just set up a little company. It's not what I'm professionally trained in, but it's doing audio production and web design and things I can do or have learned over the years. But I've just now got my own reseller account for web hosting on an unlimited basis. So I'm going to move all my sites and the ones I've been managing over to my own hosting account. Wow. And then it's unlimited. But the type of thing that's in the back of my mind is, even though that'll be a fast server setup, is the likes of Blueberry obviously can deliver from different nodes almost across the world, and you're not going to get any problem with speed. You might be, I'm not saying you might be the last person to hear, Joe, in terms of any problems that your end user has about how long it takes to download, for example. Obviously in Blueberry it's pretty fast. But I think you're probably, or my sense of it is like yours, that maybe at those levels it's not going to be a problem really for self-hosting your media.
Right.
And if I have my own reseller account, then it shouldn't be a problem anyway. But I host the podcast with Blueberry up to now, certainly. That could be another little cost saving, maybe.
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons that I do it, is because I want the cost savings. Try to do it as shoestring as I possibly can. I mean, once I'm making money, it's not as big of a deal, but right now, that it is a big deal, and it's been a big deal for about a year and a half. But with that said, I haven't run into any problems either. So that's why I know it's not as simple as having Blueberry or Libsyn or Spreaker, or I guess even SoundCloud, though you were saying it's not that user friendly. I've never uploaded anything to SoundCloud before. We do have an account, but my point is you have to know what you're doing. Though, even with WordPress, like, you can upload, at least in my case and a couple other cases I've seen, you can upload up to 64 meg files, which in a lot of cases, depending how long your episodes are and the quality of the episode, you could technically just upload it to your media library. You don't have to, like, IFTP it to a folder. So it's like howtodream.co/pod/episode name. And then I drop it into PowerPress. But you don't have to do that. You can just use the link.
That's something that I wanted to ask you about, Joe, actually. Maybe I can ask you now. When you do that and you put those, /book and / support on the end of your web address, how do you do that exactly? How does that work? Like, I can't really think of an example.
You don't use WordPress, though, do you?
No, I don't.
In your case, what you could,
like, would I be able to do something like that?
What you would do is you can create like an HTML file, right? Right. So
yes. Like, for instance, right now, like if I send you to the listen page of my website, it would be memyselfandiradio.com/listen.html.
What you need to find is the HTML forward code. So you would just create a page, like, say, called memyselfandiradio.com/book, and the forward code is, assuming that this works, there's an HTML code to do it. I just threw it in the chat.
Okay.
That was weird. Like, I've done it before, but it's been a long time because I've been using WordPress and stuff like that for a really long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a code that's, I guess that's the code. I'm not 100%. That will, if you just create an HTML file with that code in it and point it to wherever you want it to go, it'll go. Another alternative could be use Bitly or Ally or whatever the other ones are, and because you can create custom ones, so it won't be as pretty as that .com/book. But the other advantages is with Bitly and probably the other ones as well, is you can track how many clicks you're getting on that. So what I would do is I would create a page. I would create whatever page you're going to do, like the /book. Use, I think it's that code, but without looking deeper into it. And then get a Bitly link and use that link in place of the example.com. So then you can go back to Bitly and you can say, hey, look, it's been clicked on 20 times. Why, like, if it's for your book, why have I not converted those to sales? That's that type of stuff.
Might have to look into that.
But if you were using WordPress, there's Pretty Link. That's pretty straightforward. And then there's also page links to, or links to page to, link to page to, which I was using for a while, where you create a page and then you just put in the, like, at the bottom of that, of where you're creating that page, you just put the link in there, and then that page just becomes. The only problem is with that is, what Pretty Link is really good for is it puts it in a separate space versus like having all these forwarding pages intermixed with your normal pages. So it's more of a pain. So Pretty Link.
I was just going to say,
pretty good.
I was just going to say that's just starting to get kind of complicated.
Yeah. So but I would look up for that code, if maybe that code actually will work, if that's the right one. and that would be good.
Okay, I'll check it out. I just copy and pasted it into a notepad. So next time I'm fooling around with the website, I'll see if I can't figure something out.
Just let me know, man. I have no problem with looking deeper up. How about you, Kevin? Cool. Have you run into anything lately that's been on your mind
in terms of
podcasting, blogging?
Yeah. Do you have that's what I was going to ask you, Kevin. Do you use your photography and your journaling? Do you also blog about that, or is that strictly for the podcast?
I would like to blog, I think, in theory, but in practice, I don't seem to have the discipline or in terms of the writing. So I even skimp on the show notes. I don't really do detailed show notes. So I would like to blog, but I haven't ever really done it to any extent.
I think that would be an ideal platform for what you're doing, with all those visuals, with the pictures and photography. People love that. If I could
spend a bit more time on the words, there's the sort of, I suppose, the SEO benefit of bringing more searches into the website and things.
Are you using an SEO plugin?
I am. I think I used to do a lot of SEO as a hobby. I mean, it's becoming more and more difficult these days, but I used to follow all the forums about all the various algorithms and what was coming out, the different releases of Google algorithms, and I used to follow the Google Analytics on my website. So I was right up to it for my neck in it for years. So I've sort of given up on all of it and just chilled out a bit more recently. But I think I'm using, is there one from Yoast?
Yeah, the Yoast one. That's the one I use.
Yeah, I think I use that one.
And you know what? I mean, it's so easy to use because it tells you exactly the steps that you need to do in order to get your post to be rated good. And honestly, for my podcast, I just do the bare minimum to get it to good. And then
so it's got the little traffic light system, red, yellow, green. Is that the one?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And honestly, it's been good for me. I get a lot of traffic, people searching and stuff like that I wouldn't be getting otherwise. And I've had people come to me and say, "Oh, they found so-and-so was looking me up online and they found your podcast and listened to my episode, and they got to listen to my whole story before we got to meet in person," or something like that. So it's really, it's really cool. Having that capability. It's a little bit of work.
Totally. Yeah, but totally worth it to get the message out there and get, make sure people, when they put in those keywords, that the first thing they comes up is Joe, or the first thing that comes up is Kevin. You want people to do that. I noticed a lot, and when I started fiddling around with it, I'm still, mine's not perfect by any means, but I mean, before, when I would Google my name or my show or something, I would find nothing, and now it's the rankings, I'm always coming up on the first page, which is really nice. And I still have a lot of tweaking to do because I'm learning about how to set those keywords and, making sure that the everything is in a line. But it's getting there. It's definitely getting there.
I advised a few people, including a couple of businesses that I used to work with, on their social media, and I say to them, we've got one business that podcasts, and I said, you need to blog every day, ideally. And you need to use just some basic SEO on these blog posts. And you need to tweet every day. And, and Google's really hungry for content, fresh content, consistent content. And we optimize them on that basis. And we optimize these Google details so that it comes up with a full right across the Google page with the name of the company and the location on the map and everything. And he's sort of fallen out of the discipline after about 6 months of doing blog posts every day. But what a catalogue of search, was built up against that in terms of people going in and subjects and finding themselves on his website. It really drove traffic. But I think you need to it's that rule of you put the effort in, you'll get the rewards, So he was getting a lot of benefit when he was disciplined enough to do it for his business. But it does take quite a bit of work sometimes if you're going to blog every day. No, I'm not suggesting you need to blog every day, but I was trying to encourage him in terms of the amount of content he wanted to get out there to get some traction,
Well, it's it's definitely important. I mean, look at what we mentioned earlier, David Michael. If you type in how to DJ, he's the first thing that comes up on search for how to DJ or how to become a DJ. So like he gets massive amounts of traffic.
Yeah, I think he said he's got like 7,000 people a week or something to visit his website.
It's probably some ridiculous more now than it was.
Yeah, well, yeah, because that was a few months ago.
Actually, that was probably you're probably going back to like the winter of last year or spring.
Yeah, it was. I remember because we were chatting with him on another Let's Talk, and he was very, very, very informative and shared a lot of cool information.
Years to get to that, that didn't happen overnight, and that was just him like writing one post. But one thing he did do, and this is amazing to think about this, is the what was ranking as the number one post was an eWiki or ehow.com article about how to DJ. So what he did was he went in there and he fixed up a bunch of the stuff. Yeah, he contributed to it and then linked himself as a source. All of a sudden he created a backlink that just helped push him up and above what was getting the first the first traffic.
Yeah, he's like a scientist.
We both get contribution. I see you're following it.
Good question. Good question, JC.
Yes, that is a good question. I don't think you have to do more than once a week. But it really comes down to what your audience wants. If can your audience keep up with it? When I was doing 5 days a week, I had plenty of people that said, "Joe, I want to listen to your show, but I'm so far behind because you won't stop." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." See,
guilty. I'm a binge listener. I'm a binge listener with podcasts. So I know when I first started out, I was podcasting, infrequently, and then I set myself a schedule of doing it bi-weekly. And what it did was, for me personally, and once a week is a great number. To answer your question, JC, I noticed for me personally, bi-weekly was great because it gives me an entire week. It gives me an entire week to work on content in between those editing weeks. So for me, bi-weekly was a good number, and even weekly works well too.
I tried to podcast
and I blog in between. Yeah, I blog in between my podcasts, so I alternate every other week, or at least I try to.
I mean, I think once a week is quite a commitment in itself for me, and sometimes my week is somewhere between 7 and 10 days, so I don't even get out on the same day each week. But one of the things that a lot of people in the UK have been talking about recently is the whole idea of a more of a series approach, where instead of when I set my podcast up and said I'm going to podcast on a regular weekly basis, there's a sort of Frankenstein element to that there's never an end. It just goes on forever. You create the monster and you don't know how to get away from it. So if your topic and the type of content you've got allows you to maybe do it in series, where you can. I was talking to somebody who does interior design, and she was talking about setting up a podcast, and I said to her, well, why don't you maybe do a number of podcasts on colour and then maybe something else on fabrics or whatever the breakdown of interior design is all about. And you can either put them out in batches or you can have a seasonal approach or whatever, but it gives you control and it allows you to give your audience some advance notice. Because my problem is that I just disappear. I'm podcasting away week after week, and then suddenly I think I'm missing a few days, becomes a week, becomes 2 weeks. I then feel guilty, it becomes 3 weeks. People think, where's he going? If I had a more of a seasonal approach, maybe I would have been able to control it a little bit better. Because weekly forever is quite a long time.
Yeah, I think you just touched on something good that would be good for JC to do too. Is to batch those podcasts when you finally do take the time to sit down and record 2 or 3 shows if you can, and you just set those to schedule to release themselves every if you want to do it every week or every other week. And I know for me that worked wonders because I was going out of town. Like Kevin, you travel around, and when you do have the time dedicated, and you say to yourself, all right, you know what, I'm just gonna sit here, I'm gonna bang out a couple of episodes. This way I have them. This way, if there's a rainy day and I can't put out content, I have that backup, and that's definitely recommended to do with podcasting.
And if you feel you're going to, they say pod fade if you like, but if you feel you're going to drop out at any level, is maybe negotiate a break or telegraph ahead that you're going to take a break for a few weeks and just step off. It's much easier to come back in if you've alerted people beforehand.
So one thing, consistency is very important, but something that we were talking about when we had the conference here and we had all the people, we had like 8 people staying at the house, and Joey was one of them, and we were talking about this stuff, and it was interesting because he was like he was going on about how he feels that season-based podcasting is going to become more successful and better than just podcasting on a regular basis, like weekly or daily or bi-weekly or monthly. And the reason is because you can focus on getting better content for your show on a consistent basis, and in between seasons, you can promote the hell out of your old content and promote going into the next season, so you can build anticipation. And the other thing that it does is it enables you, if you wanted to go the sponsor route and get sponsors for your show, it enables you to go and do that based on old numbers rather than your day-to-day numbers, which for most of us is like, ooh, it went up, ooh, it went back down, ooh, it's like ooh, 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 like that. So it's tougher to really make a claim like, boom, like, hey, we're getting 5,000 downloads a day or 10,000 a day.
Oh, okay, I see.
You can based on speculation. You could sell sponsorship based on speculation rather than just like the daily norm. So I really think that he's on to something. And
so almost like a season of your favorite TV show. It's the same concept.
10 episodes, and
that might work. Something like that.
10 more episodes, and they might all come out at once. They might not come out at once. But the point is you're delivering that content in a way that gets people more acclimated and gives them a chance, like you, where Anthony, where you're the binge listener, to be like, oh, cool, and the anticipation, and then getting those downloads because, like, boom, it's all out at once. And last but not least, it could help with your, getting you up in the rankings on iTunes, because if you drop 10 episodes at once with a lot of anticipation and people going to it all at once, boom, you're going to shoot up a heck of a lot quicker than, hey, new episode, hey, new episode, hey, new episode. Now to JC, what do you think about this? Podcasting is inbound marketing. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I probably need a little bit more of an explanation what he means by inbound marketing.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that.
Let me preface that with what I believe that he means. So like, I'm starting up my own online school teaching people how to build platforms, right? How to build an online platform and not so much for the monetization, but to start with the platform, and then once you get people that interested, because not everyone gets to be like Alec Baldwin or Adam Carolla, who already is like, hey, I've been on TV and this, all that, and the third, and they're bringing all that with them into the podcasting platform or the blogging platform. One of the ways to get the word out about what you're doing or your product is to use podcasting to get people to be like, hey, listen to the show. I'm dropping value. I'm getting people to trust me. I'm getting people involved. I'm answering questions. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And then, utilize that as inbound marketing for a product.
I think, from my point of view, that's probably the most relevant part of podcasting, is to develop that customer relationship or help feed your sales funnel. I can't think of many podcasts that are going to be monetized purely on their content, but as an element of the support to prospective customers and or customer aftercare or whatever, to really grow the relationship and the loyalty, and then the repeat sales on a product. So if you have a range of services or products that you want to sell to somebody, the podcast could be quite a big part of the glue in terms of not only bringing people in, but sustaining a relationship that allows you to upsell all sorts of things to them. I think that's the strength of it, rather than the content itself being some sort of product. I mean, my idea is just to bring people into a members club where I can give them a little bit of extra audio at a relatively small charge, and it's more a case of the podcast maybe trying to cover some of its costs. But if I had some products that I wanted to monetize, then I think a podcast could be a really big part of that equation.
Yeah, absolutely. Any way to get the word out is a good thing.
JC, you should go check out this site, 100mba.net. Go check that out. Omar Zenhom, amazing person. Got to meet him in person. I've had him on my Dreamers podcast. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's huge.
He is. He's a larger than life personality, and he's really down to earth. So, go check it out. He does a daily podcast. It started out 5 days a week. Within 4 or 5 weeks of starting, he had so many questions coming in that and who knows if he really did, because sometimes you have to fake it before you make it. But either way, he made it, and people started to send him in questions, and now he does it 7 days a week with the weekends where he answers questions. And on Fridays, he gives away, it's called Free Ride Fridays, where he gives away a free ride to the $100 MBA. And it's all, you just have to leave a review on iTunes, and you can enter to win. How cool is that? So it's really awesome. And I'm checking out your link now that you just sent in the HubSpot marketing.
Is that his
no,
website?
It's an article. I can't open it up separately. It's an article about why marketers should be betting on podcasting. And I agree to an extent, but I think that there's something to be said for getting your word out there in more than one way, right? And being flexible, like we were saying earlier, with getting it on Facebook, getting it on YouTube, wherever you can get it, to at least get it, so people can find out about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think blogging and podcasting go hand in hand, and I've read so many articles lately, Huffington Post and Spreaker, on the Spreaker blog, of just the benefits and the crossover, and just having that excess SEO juice to get people to consume. It definitely has its benefits. Mm-hmm. But hey, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I'm gonna have to jump off.
Thanks. Appreciate you, man.
Everybody else, thanks for watching.
I'll keep in touch.
Anthony, plug your stuff real quick for one last time.
All right, take care. Yeah, that's Anthony Hayes from Me, Myself, and I Radio. What's up? I'm Anthony Hayes from Me, Myself, and I Radio.com, and got a podcast and a blog.
Awesome.
Later.
Thank you again, man. I'll talk to you later.
Pleasure.
Bye.
All right, Paul, you got like some massive static going on there, man.
Oh, let me get out there.
And you sound like a robot. You sound like an android. Have a good night at work, man.
Okay, see you later.
So Kevin, so you so do you actually plan on taking your podcast? That was nuts. Are you planning on taking your podcast to a level where you're able to make it like a business more than a hobby?
I wouldn't say no. I think maybe a lot of podcasters are realizing that in many ways it's a hobby, but I think I'm in such a potentially hot sector. Scotland and tourism are, go hand in hand, and maybe a third of my audience are Americans, and I keep meeting them on their holidays when they come over, and they're quite happy to spend money on guides and all sorts of things. So there's ways that I could deliver more premium content remotely, or bespoke content for people individually, or as a couple, or as a group coming over. So there's ways it probably could be monetized in the future, because that idea of you becoming perceived as some form of expert in your field, people, when they do meet me on their holidays, are really, they're both enthusiastic about meeting me, but they're also very grateful. And in some ways, it's just asking. If you say to people, I've asked people in the past, keep forgetting, but I ask occasionally for donations or something, and I usually get a response. So there's ways I might be able to monetize it, but there are some basic costs that would be nice just to cover them.
Right.
I think if I was going to do podcasting on a commercial, my background is I've managed. I was the chief executive of quite a large company. I've been involved in buying and selling companies, and I've been involved in both the public sector and the not-for-profit as well as the private sector. So I gave all that up really to spend my time wandering around Scotland. My worry, Joe, to answer your question, is that to develop a successful business, you want to find a demand that isn't being properly met. You want a product that's got a good margin. You want to look at how quickly you can gear that up in terms of debt finance. You want to sell it in 5 years and make your million and walk away. I don't want to get back in that hamster wheel. So there is a sort of idea of a lifestyle business, which is a much, much slower pace where you maybe make just enough money to pay your bills and feed yourself and keep you in the lifestyle you're accustomed to, which is wandering around Scotland in a van. And you don't get involved in developing business plans. You don't get involved in diaries. You don't get involved in all the things that became the hamster wheel, if you like. So I'm a little bit reluctant to get too involved in the business side again, just personally, because, the idea was to get out as early as I could.
Well, have you thought about creating products for people that are traveling to Scotland rather than just like the donation route or like the Patreon route?
That's what I'm saying. There is definitely there's plenty of evidence that people will pay for advice and guides and all sorts of things. And some of the things I'm doing on my closed group is like video guides using Google Maps. So I'll do a video tour of the North Coast and suggest places to stop off and, locations that are good for, scenery or must-see sites or whatever. And then just work at a monetization model that at least covers the cost of some of the podcasting. But I could easily, I've recommended to people coming over guides, and they'll happily pay a couple £100 or $300 a day to be taken around in a car. There are ways that you can, if that's what you want to do, you can take it forward. And there's a growing interest in Scotland, not just as a holiday destination. These things tend to build over time, but there's a lot of people in America who have an interest in genealogy and their ancestry and just the historical, cultural things that go on in Scotland, as well as the scenery. So there are numbers of American tourists in particular are increasing quite rapidly. And I also see quite a lot of Chinese people coming in as partly English as a second language, but they're now becoming the tourists of tomorrow. So we're beginning to see, rather than just Japanese, we're seeing a lot of Chinese people coming, and other countries that are probably becoming more affluent as well. Scotland becoming more of an exotic destination for them.
Yeah, one of my brothers actually was just there, like I think at the beginning of the summer or just before the summer, like sometime in the early spring, something like that. So yeah, it's definitely, and yeah, they traveled like all up and down everywhere. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So
I can see some potential in it, and there's not really other people in the space, and I need to think about it before I get too involved or go too deep on it. But yeah, there's possibilities. But equally, if I flipped the coin and said, well, I'm going to put time and effort into podcasting to see if I can make some money at it, is there another topic, another subject? And we always go back to you're better pursuing something that you have a real interest in or passion for or some expertise. And the fact I've been wandering around the country for 5 or 6 years, not full time, but not far off it. I can go anywhere in Scotland without a map, and I can tell you exactly where to get to and where to go virtually. I just know where to go. It's a nice feeling to have that ability. And I try to concentrate on the idea is to travel rather than arrive. So I often reach a junction and I have no idea whether I'm going to go left or right. But I know whatever way I go, I know it's round the corner almost in terms of towns and villages. So I just tend to follow the weather or some event that's on. I'll head up that way or down that way. But yeah, I mean, I'm wandering off topic, but I think I would look at monetization at some level. But is there an element of what you're doing is to make some form of business out of it?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of different things. So it's not all just podcasting. In fact, I out of 5 podcasts, I have one that makes money, and not even a lot of money. So it's, the podcasting part of it isn't really so much that as it is getting to know people and getting to have awesome experiences because of it and all that. I do a talk with kids. It's like a school assembly where I teach them how to dream, like how to figure out what it is that they want to be and what they should go after and all that, and assess all the risk and the rewards that can come from doing such a thing. So that's another, like that's just another way of making all this work. But yeah, I it's so far it's been an amazing journey, and I'm looking forward to the future for sure.
And one of the things that can happen as well, I mean, if you probably listen to Dave Jackson, and he has a little bit in his show about.
Yes, Dave Jackson was here for the conference. Actually,
right.
You should go check out the wrap up video because he gave a really awesome 45-minute talk here.
I do follow his shows, and I listen to a lot of his stuff, so I haven't come across the podcast conference stuff yet. But yeah, I'll look that up. I was watching him on the blab he's doing on here now each week.
Yes, I was checking out the one from this week as well.
On his own show, when he talks about how podcasting can, change your life or whatever, because of podcasting, because of my podcast, this happened. It's amazing how podcasting can lead you into all sorts of other relationships or other opportunities. So, and yes. I mean, I've met some great people through the podcast. There's no doubt about that, and some funny things happening as well. I had my brother-in-law in one of my early episodes. And he was in his car just a couple of weeks ago, listening to one of my podcasts, and the music was on. It was a sunny day, and he was parked, and he had the window down, and a stranger approached his car and said, "Are you listening to Passing Places, which is my podcast?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "Oh, I'm a listener too." He said, "You're a listener?" He said, "I was the special guest on episode 10 or something." And I wouldn't call it fame, but when you hear stories like that, it makes you...
That's awesome, funny. Man.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
And,
yeah, anyway. I mean, I've had similar type of experiences, and it, that human interaction aspect of it is definitely the best. I mean, that's no amount of money can make that. You could make all the money in the world sitting there, hacking away at your computer all day, but it's really the human interaction and the just the experiences that you get to have because of it, the aftermath.
There's almost like a democratization going on in the media where, I mean, I'm sure it's the same in the States, but our newspapers are, dying a very slow death in terms of circulation. And our TV stations are laying off journalists all the time. And excuse me, a lot of these people are now freelance, and they're coming over to podcasting and other elements of social media. But you can go out and I say compete. You can put your content out there at very little cost. And when you look at, the BBC is a big provider, and find your podcast, lying in amongst the BBC on the list. It's amazing that you can literally just as an individual reach out to people at that level. And thankfully, some of them do respond and get involved. And equally, they could do it. They could start a podcast tomorrow.
Yeah.
If they were motivated to do it, they could start their own show.
It's, it is a lot of work. And you have to be very motivated. And again, if you're not somebody bringing a platform with you into podcasting, it can take a long time to make it work and to get some real traction. But once you do, everything just starts to fall into place, and that's it. I mean, it's again, to me, it comes back to people and experiences. And thanks, Paul. I will definitely I'll definitely be in touch about WordCamp. Have a great night. Hope you do a good job rubbing your wife's back. But actually, I need to get going here in a little bit myself. I know it's got to be, what is it, 3 a.m., 3:30 a.m. there?
It's it's heading for 4.
Oh man!
Not to worry.
Making me tired, and it's only 10:30 here.
Yeah, just kick me off, and I'll be heading off to bed shortly. So, yeah. But it's a pleasure speaking to you, Joanne, and Anthony, and just following some of the conversation in the chat room as well. It's a good platform, man. Blab.
I'm definitely enjoying Blab, and thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a lot of fun. I want to get you on Facebook as well. The next time we're going to do this Let's Talk is going to be October 26th at 9 p.m. Eastern, which I guess is 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. your time, 2 a.m. your time.
Not sure, but yeah, that sounds good enough.
2 a.m. I think it's 2 a.m. your time because you're 5 hours in front of me. So yeah, you should be 5 hours. You're right. You're GMT, right? GMT 0.
Yes. Well, we're British summertime just now, but we'll be GMT in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
don't worry about the time element of it.
So yeah, I don't know if you trying to find you on Facebook, but I'm not having a whole lot of luck.
If you in Facebook, Bonnie Tours, see that Bonnie Tours URL I have on my bio? You just separate that into 2 words, Bonnie Tours. That's my main Facebook account, which I never ever sorted in terms of my personal account. But Bonnie Tours is an account on Facebook, which is where my Passing Places podcast group is under that account.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just sent you a friend request.
Right.
Very good. All right. Well, before we wrap up here, well, thank you, JC, and thank you for the questions too. I hope you have a great night and morning, depending on what time zone you're in. And yeah, so we'll be here again on Monday, October 26th at 9 p.m. You want to plug your site again there, Kevin?
Oh, very briefly. I mean, it's late, I'm sure, for you or everybody, but Bonnie Tours is the main website, and Bonnie was a reference to my Triumph Bonneville. I used to go around the country on a motorcycle. So Bonnie Tours, BONNIE, bonnietours.com. But my new site is called, what is it called? Passing Places. .scot. And Passing Places is the name of the podcast because Passing Places are the little areas you can pull over on the roads in Scotland. In rural areas, they're single track, and a passing place is the little bit you pull over. And Passing Places is obviously about travelling rather than arriving. So that was the play on words. But passingplaces.scot is where my little insider club's going to be. And that's not yet live. It's almost live. I've been waiting for the winter, so you can find me on here or find me on Twitter at any of those handles, PP Insiders. And I'm more than happy to join up or connect with anybody who's here. So I'm quite keen to find out more from other people as well. I don't want to hog the conversation, so I better let you go, Joe. It's
very good, man. Well, I hope you have a great morning. And yeah, I do. Oh, don't forget to go watch. Yeah, I want to see Black Mass so bad. Good night, Jenna, and thanks for coming in. And I'm Joe Pardo. You can find all my stuff at superjoepardo.com is the website. Just drop it in here. And again, we'll be doing the next one October 26th, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I hope everyone takes care and has a good 2 weeks.